I don't sell what I consider the traditional way. I have in the past, so I recognize this way of selling. I personally, had a deep dissatisfaction with selling the traditional way 3 or 4 years ago, and that's what caused me to go on a journey to learn and discover and create new methods. So I pull it apart, I reverse engineer it, I look at all the moving parts that goes to success in this game, and then try and put it back together my way.
How do you future-proof yourself in this industry?
That's a big question.
Tell me about you've been in the space for a little bit of time now. And yeah, like you said, you got good accounts where you want to stay connected to. I don't think many people have that affinity to, if they're connected to an offer, that it's because of the contacts that they would make out of it. It's just purely, like transactional. What makes a good, what do you think in your criteria, what makes a good offer that you want to be part of the network rather than just the sale itself?
Yeah, good question. I mean, this is the only client I've ever had where this is the case. So I think this is an outlier. And I think it has to do with who I am as a person and where I'm at in my journey. I'm a bit older. I'm in my 40s. Most people in our world, Pat, I'm not sure how old you are, but most are probably in their 20s. You're in your 40s too? Okay. So you know what I'm saying here. I think the majority of people we speak to are probably in their late 20s, 30s, more so than in our age or older. So, I'm at a, I guess, more advanced stage age-wise than most other closers, which probably means two things. It means I can probably carry myself a little different and arguably more relevant with the people I sell to for this particular offer, which are people older than me. They typically are mid-40s up to like 70s and 80s even sometimes, but a lot of them are sort of 50, 55, 60. So, I'm able to carry myself quite well with those people. I'm an entrepreneur as well. They're way ahead of me on the entrepreneurial journey. Don't get me wrong. So for me, they're inspiring. But, I want to be around those people because, as I said, they're inspiring. I learn a lot from them. I meet them in person. This is a unique account in that they fly me to the States every year for 7 days. The event's 5 days. So I'm there with the team, with Peter Diamantes, who's the guru figure in this offer, who in his world is quite well known, quite famous, and rightly so. He's brilliant. And the people that are in there are all like very impressive people. And I spend a week with them. I get to know them and they like me and I like them. So, it's just an energy I want to be around. It's not even about the money anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's been financially amazing, but it's not a world that I want to close off. In fact, the opposite. I want to go more into that world. I'd have no expectations. I have no expectations on a certain outcome. Like, I really hope this deal happens or someone introduced me to someone else. It's one of those things. I talked about direction over details in a post the other day. Directionally, it's just a space I want to be in. No expectations of an outcome, but a pretty high confidence that something great will more likely than not happen. And as a result, I'll put myself in that situation. So, that account's morphed into a stage now where it's not so much about the numbers. The numbers are still good, by the way, but it's not so much about that. It's just that ability to be in that space and that energy. The access. There you go. That's the word. The access. Yeah, it's a world. It's a world I wouldn't have open to me on my own means right now. Like, we have a high criteria for people that come into that mastermind. I wouldn't meet it yet. I might in a year, but I wouldn't meet it yet if I tried to apply and go into it. So I get access to a world that at the moment will be closed to me, which is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good point that you mentioned, because I was saying to you before, there's teams that we manage that I actually close for, and I kind of keep the account more for my own benefit rather than just theirs, right? Because of the access and the people and the knowledge that you get from it. Where do you think then? For your journey, let's say, because you mentioned about accessing this level and you're an entrepreneur at heart, how does that translate, to your entrepreneurial self?
Look, in a few ways. So a core reason why people come into this particular program is they're already extraordinary entrepreneurs, but they want to go to another level again. They're not content. They want to have more impact. They want to have more significance. They want to create an even bigger legacy. They want to give back. It's not all about making more money. It can be, but it's not all about that. So, I look at it for the same reasons. I'm just at a different start point to what they are. Like, they're already worth $100 or $1 billion. I'm not. They've already successfully exited from, 3 companies or whatnot. I haven't done that yet. So for me, it's the same thing in the sense that I want to become as extraordinary as I can be. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but in simplistic terms, I want it to be the best version of what can be possible. And I don't necessarily know entirely what that is yet. And then they come in, in order to become even more extraordinary, they want access to certain learnings, certain resources, certain people, certain networks, certain ways of thinking, certain energy. And I'm the same. I want access to all those things as well. So for me, I just go in with an open mind, looking to meet people, contribute where I can. The biggest contribution I can do is what I'm paid to do, which is to bring the right people in for the right reasons and have amazing conversations with these people. And if it's appropriate, I bring them in and they come in excited and engaged and motivated, and the relationship starts fantastically. And if they're not, I disqualify them or they disqualify themselves pretty quickly. And we always end the call on good terms. There's never a bad vibe. There's no hard selling. You don't have to. So I guess, I learn from every person I speak to because of their journeys. And it might just be one little insight or it might be monumental. So
it's a caliber as well that you're talking
absolutely.
to, right?
Yeah, it's an insight into a world that one day I want to qualify to be a part of that I don't yet, and I recognize that, so I have total humility. But at the same time, I can carry myself in a way where I can add value to them, I can add value to Peter, the owner, the guru figure, and I can carry myself well enough when I'm there that I don't feel like it's pulling teeth for them to have to speak to me. It's just wanting to be in that environment, and just, as I said, no expectation as to where it'll land, but a really high chance it'll land somewhere good. It already has landed somewhere good, but I think it can go even better.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also, like you said, having that access is just, those conversations are probably more enriching than most, right? Like if
definitely. I've sold. I've sold. No disrespect to anyone still selling this or to the prospects, but I've sold fitness to housewives. No disrespect. I've sold BizOp to people that are broken. This is their last roll of the dice. All those sorts of things. And look, there's a time and a place, and there's a need for that. And they were great experiences for cutting my teeth and all that sort of stuff. But I don't want to be having those conversations anymore. I personally, I get a sensation if a deal is closed and I know that person's coming in for the right reasons, and there's a really high chance if they do their part. And I always make it really clear you got to do your part when it's coaching or BizOp. That they'll get to a better place. So there's a satisfaction in that. But if I'm brutally honest, I'm not that engaged and that excited on the phone calls. The topics that we're talking about and sort of where we're going, I don't get anything out of it, which is fine. I don't have to. My job there is to, connect the dots if that's what needs doing. But given a choice, which I have, I don't want to be doing those phone calls anymore. I've done them for long enough.
Yeah, I think you've done your time. It's it's not because you kind of follow a certain progression as well.
The thing that the best way I can articulate that is the calls I have now, sale or no sale, I feel energized and stimulated and motivated at the end of the call, sale or no sale. The outcome is it's not irrelevant. I want to sell, don't get me wrong, if it's there for the taking, but I still get something out of the call. Whereas the others I was talking about, that wasn't so much the case. Done my time there, have evolved. Yeah. Good luck to all those, in the trenches still, but fortunately that's not me anymore.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do think there's a progression, over a period of time. And definitely, someone has to start somewhere, or that people enjoy it and that's their thing. I think power to them, I think some of
the guys and girls I coach now in a one-on-one capacity are still, deep in the fitness world, selling to, the non-conditioned, the often non-motivated, the often never have set foot in a gym types who are 50 pounds overweight and, have no concept of what an alternative might look like. And again, I did that for 10 years. So I know that world very, very well. And they love it. But you know what? I loved it too when I was 25. Back in the day, I loved it too because it was all I knew and it was exciting and there was lots of reps and, there were hugs and high fives and in a physical sense because it was physical selling. I actually sold gym memberships in person back in the day. Yeah. So I get it. But, part of the evolution of a salesperson, part of the evolution with age and experience, you move into different categories. And fortunately for me, I'm out of that world now and I'm in a different one, which for where I'm at and where I want to go aligns perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think? Because I think you mentioned something before as well about, just being able to move forward and continue the growth. I know a lot of people who come in as appointment setters, closers, whatever it is, they get online for freedom and money and things like that as well. Where do you think, and I've spoken to a lot of people who are entrepreneurial in some way, shape or form, right? That's kind of what they're thinking. How do you get to that point, do you think, as a closer, as an appointment setter? How do you develop that so that you can seek out other opportunities or, do the time, build your skills to be able to then take opportunities as they come?
Look, it all depends on where you're at and where you want to go, who you are, who you want to become. So there are people, as you know, and I've been this person as well, where sales is a stopgap. For whatever reason, there wasn't much happening, there wasn't much opportunity, pathways were closed that they maybe found more interesting. And hey, pretty much always you can get a job in sales, so they got a job in sales. I've been that person. And for those people, if that's the state they're going to stay in, that's fine. And it's probably just sort of living day to day and taking things as they come and, whatever. If you go beyond that, which I have, in the sense that you commit to, okay, this is my calling, or this is my pathway, or this is my mission, or this is my journey, whatever you want to call it. Like, I am committed to being a salesperson. Because I'm committed to it, I accept that I want to be here. And because I want to be here and I'm committed to it, I might as well get good at it. When you make that commitment and then, mentally, and then marry that up with actions, your world starts changing. You start seeing things differently. You start meeting different people. You project a different energy. You start getting different results because you're doing the work and you're taking it serious. And people see you're not a jokester who's just, here for a laugh and passing through. And before you know it, things change. New opportunities come to you. You start seeking out new opportunities. You get them. You have a better sense of what's out there. You realize that you don't just have to close for 10% for the rest of your life. You can do other things. You can become an offer owner. You can become a recruiter. You can create your own offer. You can joint venture with other people, whether they're a marketer or a fulfillment guy or a copywriter or a combination of things like that. There's a big world out there. Or you can leave sales altogether, but with sales in your DNA and having mastered it, you create whatever business you want to create, but you create it with a sales first mentality. And you separate yourself from the competition because of that. So it starts with, I guess, a mindset shift and a commitment to, who you want to become, and then a recognition of what's needed in order for you to become that person, and then a commitment to doing the work. And, over time, things start evolving beyond that point. It may move quickly, it may move slowly. Everybody's journey is different. There is some luck, there is some serendipity, but there's also a lot of things that you can control as well. But that's how I see it. What are your thoughts on hearing that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot that I agree with there. I think, one of the key things when you are in an offer, especially in coaching, right, you get to see, if you involve yourself in it enough, you get to see how they're building their business, right? How they conduct themselves and how they deliver, how they attract. And obviously, you're part of the sales process, but you have all the tools already there, all the clues in growing
That's
something.
A very good point. So, in the work that we do, if you get to a certain stage where you're trusted to have higher level conversations, where, the offer owner looks at you as more than just a sales guy, so if you can position yourself and carry yourself in a way, and presuming you want that as well, all of a sudden you may find yourself starting to get closer to the marketing / lead gen team and getting to so there's a cohesion between the selling and marketing process, and you're in conversations there. You're seeing what they start to see. You're hearing what they're looking for. You're hearing about their interpretation of the relationship between sales and marketing and how it can work. And before you know it, you understand that world. You might not be able to execute it, but you understand in a broad sense what that all looks like and what it needs to look like and how to generate a lead and what the journey needs to look like before it gets to the salesperson. And then, hey, you should already know how to turn that into a sale, of course. And you should also, on the other side, get a good look at fulfillment, because you understand what fulfillment looks like in the offer that you're selling. You can see behind the scenes as to what's required for the offer owner to do that, or the guru figure to do that. You get a lot of feedback from the clients that you sold to, what they liked, what they didn't like, what was short, what was great. So you should be getting all these data points. You should be joining all these dots. You should be reading between the lines. And on doing that, at a certain point in time, again, presuming you're looking for this and you're wired in a way that you want to understand and see what's going on, which I am, and I know you are too, at a certain point in time, you should have clarity as to what a great offer looks like from concept stage, i.e., who's our target market, what problem are we fixing, why would they even consider choosing us, what does it look like if we solve it, what sort of language do we need to speak to connect with them and get an emotional response, what does the journey look like, where do we need to be to generate that lead, how do we then, I guess, manipulate in a good way, caress that so it gets to a stage where it becomes a sales lead. And before you know it, you understand the whole ecosystem, not necessarily in detail, but the skeleton of it you understand. There are gaps missing, of course. And you don't have to be the person to fill those gaps in either. You can hire a copywriter, you can hire a lead generator, you can hire a guy to run Facebook ads, you can hire a guru figure to fulfill, or a coach to fulfill the service. You don't have to do it all. But if you understand how it all interconnects and how to bring it all together, all of a sudden, you're no longer a closer. You can now look to form a joint venture with others. You can create your own offer. You can contract your services at a higher level and take over full responsibility for sales, not just be a closer yourself, which means you go and recruit and train and manage other sales guys. And instead of getting 10%, maybe you're getting 25 and you're paying the sales guys 10 and keeping 15 for yourself. I mean, there's all sorts of dynamics come into play then. And next thing you know, you're not just a sales closer anymore. So that's all out there if you want it and you're prepared to do what's required to get it, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say, on the flip side of it, there's some people who just want to get really good at closing, and that's their pathway, right?
Yep.
So they don't necessarily need to go through and analyze those things. But if you have some interest in it, and I think the more interest you do have, in what goes on in the business, there's more feedback that you can give. You can make your life a lot easier as a closer.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong if you just quote unquote want to stay a closer or even a setter for that matter. You can make great money being a setter as well. I'm just going to shut the door. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just for those that want more, those that feel they're capable of more, those who financially and beyond financial are ambitious in a way that closing doesn't necessarily get them to where they want to get to. There are more opportunities out there, and I'm not certain that a lot of people realize that. I think a lot of people still may feel that closing is the pinnacle, and for some it is, and that's fine again, but I'm certainly of the view that there's levels above that.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's levels as depending on where you enter into, that you can just keep going if you want to keep, sort of pursuing all those things. One thing I do know about the skill that you learn that's very much related to business as a closer is problem solution. Like that's kind of how most big businesses are built, right? There's a problem that they go to solve, and they marry that up and get monetized. So,
yep.
All those things are pretty good. Speaking of problems,
yes.
Good segue actually. So in the online space, especially in the coaching consulting agency world, there are a lot of good opportunities. There's a lot of poor opportunities as well. As most people, who've been closing for a while, they'll know. And then seasons come and go, and things go up and down. How do you think you can, as a sales rep, either a appointment setter or a closer, how do you future-proof yourself, sort of going through this industry where there's a lot of ups and downs and things not quite going as they seem, and you're not always getting on unicorn offers? How do you future-proof yourself in this industry?
That's a big question. Well, I guess you got to look at the things that you can control. So what can you control? Within reason, you can control your attitude in the sense of, sort of tying in with what I said earlier. Am I only here for a short time and a good time, and therefore everything's basically going to be transactional and, short term? Or, do I foresee a long future here as a start point? And because of that, I'm going to commit to excellence. I'm going to commit to longer term decisions. I'm going to do whatever's needed to, give myself the best chance of getting great outcomes in that period of time, whether it's 5-10 years or forever, indefinitely. So I think that might be the start point. If you're in the first category, it's not really too much I can say. If you sort of just here for a short and good time, that's fine. But I probably don't really have any advice for you, because everything that I'm about is the opposite of that. So I don't really have anything to say to you if that's the case. But if you are committed to being in this space and you see yourself here for 5-10 years maybe, or beyond, you want to become excellent. You want to live life on your terms. You know, you want to elevate your earning capacity, your status, how you feel about yourself, how others treat you, the options that you have, the quality of the network around you, all those sorts of things. Then the first thing I think is to recognize that and then commit to that, and then sort of work backwards from, you know, where your final destination is and go, well, what do I need? What do I need to give myself the best chance of becoming that person? And all sorts of answers are going to reveal themselves, from sales training, from building up a brand, for getting clear on, you know, what your mission in this space is. Is it to serve, you know, is it to fix a particular problem? Is it to serve a particular avatar, a particular type of client market? You know, is it to work in a particular industry and become a master of that industry and a real high level specialist? You know, something else. Yeah. And then map out a plan to, you know, become renowned, to create a presence, to build out your network, to become an expert on said topic or said industry or said avatar. And then work your way up from there.
How important is it, do you think, to build a brand? Because I think that's a good topic to, you know, to sort of go on. I've seen a lot more. I would say, you know, really good sales rep that I respect. You know, putting some content out there. Yep. What do you think? How important is it to be part of?
I think it's crucial. About a month ago, shameless plug here, sorry, I did a 3-part post series on how to create a content strategy for your posts, thinking of Facebook in particular, because for whatever reason, this seems to be a Facebook-centric industry over LinkedIn or Twitter, at least as of right now. So Facebook first as far as your content goes. There might be exceptions with YouTube, but I think Facebook seems to be the start point for most high-ticket remote closing. Certainly I view it that way. So, you know, the first thing I would say is figure out your positioning, in the sense of, you know, who's my audience? You know, what do I want to say to them? Why would they even consider paying attention to me? So I'll use myself as an example. So I made a conscious decision about 2 years ago, you know, being that I'm a little bit older than most other sales guys, being that I'm a little bit more experienced than most other sales guys, being that I have, and a lot of this applies to you as well, I know, but being that I look at it from I look at I pull it apart, I reverse engineer it, I look at all the moving parts that goes to success in this game, and then try and put it back together my way. So, you know, what I write for, who I write for, should I say, is the me of 5 years ago. So if I think of the me of 5 years ago, pre-COVID, committing 100% to remote selling, I was already doing it, but it wasn't my main gig. I had physical businesses here in Guatemala. That was still my main gig and my main attention. And I only focused on remote closing 5 to maybe 10 hours a week. So I wasn't completely committed. I only fully committed when COVID hit, because, you know, my businesses got decimated. And I had to take an alternative route. So I write for the me of really at the start of COVID, if I want to get really particular, because at the time I didn't know what I know now. Obviously, I couldn't do what I can now do. I thought the pathway is not the pathway that I now see. So I write for the me of 3 to 4 years ago. What would I have loved to have known then that I now know now? What would I love to believe then that I now believe in now? What would I love to be able to do? You know, what would I love to be able to not worry about? All those things. So I write for the me of 3 to 4 years ago, knowing that there are many other people out there that are at a similar level in their journey to what I was 3, 4, 5 years ago. So, you know, that has enabled me to be really clear in who I write for. And my mission, as I said, is to inform, educate, inspire, entertain to a little bit, so that they can have clarity and confidence on what I feel, in my experience, is the best pathway forward. What has served me very, very well. Yes, it's my experience. What works for me might be different to what works for others, might be preferred by others, but I can only write from my point of view. And I always put in the caveat in my posts, in my view, or in my experience, or my belief.
It's always open to discussion too, I think.
Yeah, so for me, I got really clear on who am I writing for, what sort of image do I want to project, what problems do I want to solve, you know, how can I present it in a way that would be interesting, entertaining, fun, serious, eye-catching, you know, stopping people in their boots sometimes and making them think, or challenging their viewpoints. All of those things are included. So what I did, but there are many other ways you can do it. I mean, you can write for fellow closers. You can write for people at your level, or around your level, sometimes a little bit above, sometimes a little bit below, often at your level. And what you're looking to do there is, to educate, inspire, entertain, inform, whatever it is. But your main objective is to build up credibility and trust and recognition in other closers' eyes, because where do most job opportunities come from? From your network. So when something comes up in someone in your network's, a role that they're doing or a role they know of, there's a really high chance they're going to go, you know what, I think Pat would be good for this. And next thing you know, Pat's connected to the owner of that offer, and they've come in recommended, and they spend 30 to 60 seconds on your Facebook page and like, okay, this guy looks like he knows what he talks about. I like this guy's energy. I like this guy's point of view. You've 3/4 already got the job. So that's another option. You could write for offer owners, so that you place yourself as a niche or an industry expert. So, you're thinking of your ideal client, at all times when you post, or you're thinking of a niche that you want to serve. Could be, I don't know, disadvantaged males under 25 in Australia, just to pick a random example. So you become a subject matter expert on that topic, and you know it inside out, and you build up a network in that space. And whenever a role comes up in that space, there's no one else they think of. Like, you're the guy. You become the guy in that space. Or you build out a network, and before you know it, you're like, okay, I'm seeing a problem in the marketplace that I want to fix. I know a good lead generator. I know a good coach. I'm going to put this offer together myself. And because you've built up this brand and this recognition and this trust and this network, it's very easy to bring the right people together, and you've got a real understanding of the marketplace, and you know how to sell. So it's really easy to join all the dots, and before you know it, you've got a powerful offer in the niche that you're an expert at. Let's see where you go now. Probably somewhere really, really good. So I know that's a long answer, but the start point is, who do you want to write to? Who do you want to position yourself towards? What do you want them to perceive or feel in their, relationship with you? How can you then craft a message that is interesting, entertaining, insightful, informative, whatever your angle is? And it can be a combination of all those things. And then here's the important part: be consistent. Don't just do it once and then forget about it and do it a week later. Commit to doing it 4, 5, 6 days a week, like nonstop. And if you do that, you will not believe. Firstly, you'll get better and better as you do it, because you'll find your voice. You'll figure out what sort of flows from you and what represents you, and you'll get better at using words. It might be awful at the start, and that's okay. It'll get better. But before you know it, you're writing better. You've got a better voice in the sense that it really reflects how you feel. People come looking for you. People expect you to post. Spend some time in the comments every time you post. You want some engagement and activity there. You want people to know that, you're up for a conversation. Often the gold is in the comments. Jump in other people's as well. And before you know it, 3-4 months pass, you will not believe how different the world will be for you. You'll have recognition. You'll have a degree of status. You'll have a degree of authority and trust. People will look for you. People who know who you are. You will just be in such a different place. And that gives you such a greater sense of control. To answer your question about what can you do to bulletproof yourself, you become somebody who's more proactive rather than reactive. You're not just one of those interested in a typical job post, or cold DMing people, or hoping that somebody notices you, or, all of those reactive strategies. You become somebody who becomes proactive, who's out there on the front foot, who, if you want to reach out to somebody, that you've got the backing of, if they spend, firstly, they might know who I am, because we've got 80 mutual connections. And secondly, if they don't, they'll spend 20 to 30 seconds on my Facebook page, see my last 3 posts. I'm pretty confident they're going to like what they're going to see, and there's a pretty good chance that they're going to want to speak to me. And you know what? They probably will. And you're just in a different world when that happens. You're creating opportunities, you're securing opportunities. Life is just so much better.
Yeah, for sure. That's how you get headhunted, really, at the end of the day.
Exactly. So then it eventually becomes an inbound strategy. What starts as outbound, you searching for your next role, eventually becomes inbound. People come to you. People recommend you. People ask you what you think. And once you are doing that, I'm not going to say you're bulletproof, but you are a lot more bulletproof than you were 6 months ago.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll definitely have more opportunities than most people will have. without being in social media at all.
Yeah.
I think it's,
yeah. And what's interesting as well, Pat, is in that 6 month period, I mean, your sales skills may have improved. They should have improved a little bit to a lot, but it's not the jump in your sales skills that changes the air that you breathe, so to speak. It's that presence, it's that awareness, it's that confidence, it's that visibility. So, that can be the main variable that changes, presuming you've got a pretty decent baseline level of selling skills as a start point. So it's more that change, not necessarily your sales skills, yet you've now got 5 times as much opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I think, if you make the most of that opportunity, I mean, you'll just be in a different position to where everyone else is, sort of, their job search or whatever. It definitely turns into more of an inbound thing. And I think,
sorry, I cut you off. I was going to say, when you get to an abundant stage where you've got inbound opportunities coming, most times you look at a role, you get offered more than you can say yes to. Your energy changes every time you go into an interaction as well. Any sense of neediness or desperation, or I really need to get this job, or I hope they like me, all of those feelings all go away. You learn how to select and sift through roles better. And the likelihood that you'll pick the right role next time increases significantly, and it'll be a much better role than you could have got 6 months ago. And then you go out and perform, and, before you know it, life is great. You're in a role where you want to be, you're performing, you're getting treated well, you got great terms, you can do your own thing more or less. You might be earning
just more opportunity
a month. Just life is so much better.
Yeah, for sure. I think that makes a huge difference. I actually just thought about something that we mentioned earlier, just backtrack a few minutes ago, about, people that come in and, maybe here for a short time and then they move on and do all those sort of things. In the corporate, and this is, I guess, the biggest difference, and maybe this is some advice for some people, some sales reps out there. Always found that if you're going to climb the corporate ladder, you just do the best you can, even at the shitty job that you're in right there and then. If you're an appointment setter, just to use an example, if you hate it, but you put in 100% effort and you get the result, you're going to get promoted to the next level up, or you're going to get an opportunity to get the next level up. Yep. And if you put in as much as you can, even if you're in a shitty offer, but you're just crushing it, you'll get opportunities for another offer in that way. I don't think enough people in the online space and not enough in the remote selling world spend the time to be really good at something, even if they don't like it. Mm-hmm. They kind of move fairly quickly. And I think there's some opportunities that get missed, especially if it's me looking back at the history and the record. I'm happy when somebody tells me, look, I didn't really like it, but I just crushed the offer anyway, because that's kind of what I do. I just excel. And you mentioned something before about, if you're going to do it, at least do it with some sort of excellence, right?
Yep.
I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've all done roles that we didn't love at the time, but the end goal that you wanted to get to made it worthwhile. If you're unproven, if you've got no leverage, and you're in a role that, you don't want to be doing for too long, but not the only way, but one of the ways to get to the next level is to still crush it, and then take that confidence, take that reference, take the learnings, onto the next and better offer. And you can say with confidence, you're not on an interview going, I hope they don't ask me about the last job that I hated because I hated it so much, I was so poor at it. Yeah. You can say, like you said a moment ago, listen, it wasn't my ideal client. It wasn't my ideal offering. But you know what? I still was the top 3 salesperson out of the 15 on the team. And I still exceeded budget or targets every month. I did my time. I delivered the results they needed. I got some great learnings. I figured out what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, where I wanted to be, where I don't want to be. And that's why I'm speaking to you today, because your offer looks exactly like where I want to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a good segue to it as well, So, hey, I saw, I was going to ask you this anyway. We had a chat. Yeah, well, maybe it was 12 months ago, maybe longer than that, about, you doing something a little bit different. And I saw a post, little teaser post maybe from today. I think it was today on Facebook about something that you've been cooking up for the last 12 months and it's finally getting close. Have you got some light? Have you got some light to tease a little bit more or shed some shed some more light on it?
I'm happy to share that, because by the time this comes out, today is, what is it, Monday the 19th of June?
Yeah.
By the time this comes out, I will have formally announced it.
Cool.
So
you heard it here first.
There you go. So I've been selling for quite some time, as you know, and I'm still selling. Still work with one client. I had 3, but I just let 2 go last month to create space for what I'm about to tell you right now. So I've been working one-on-one coaching a bunch of sales guys and girls over the last year or so. Coached over 20 people in that period of time. Had phenomenal feedback, phenomenal results. I've learned a lot about my way of teaching and how to teach what works for me and all those sorts of things. But, I've been fortunate that I've been getting asked for quite some time now, are you going to have a group training offer or a group coaching offer or whatnot? And the answer has been yes, but not yet. And the reason it's been not yet is because, sort of tying in with what I said earlier about my big client, the one that I love working with and selling for, we've had a phenomenal 12 to 18 months together, phenomenal. And it was taking up so much of my time and energy and focus, and I wanted to see that. When I say to its conclusion, it hasn't concluded the relationship, but I'm not sure I can take it much higher than I've already gone. I think I can certainly maintain and maybe a little bit of incremental growth, but we've just gone through like significant growth, which I've had a reasonably large part in playing, I'm happy to say. So that was my focus. I really wanted to do that well and do it right. And now that I'm on the other side of that, that's not going to fire up and get hot again until November. It's a little bit seasonal, this particular role. So finally, do I have the time to allocate towards doing what I'm going to do? So in the next few days, I'm going to announce that my group training offer is going live. It's not just sales coaching, it's community as well. I'll have some more information that I'll share shortly on that, but and it's not a pre-built course. It's not some static course that I've built. I actually haven't built a course. There's no course waiting for people when they get in there. We're going to build it together when we go through it, and it's going to be dynamic and evolving and breathing. So in particular, those that come in at the start, they're going to really help me shape it, because I'll be soliciting their feedback about what they want to learn, what's important to them. I already have a pretty good idea about what I want to teach, but I'm totally open to adding new things and modifying things. And we'll just keep building it. We'll keep building it. I've been in a great mastermind the last 18 months, the Fast Forward Mastermind that Alan Seltanick has. I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot on how he conducts his mastermind, and it's a living, breathing thing. There's no course on that either. He just shows up twice a week and does a 3-hour masterclass deep dive into the deep, dark corners of people's minds and human behavior and how people buy and how to get them to buy and all those sorts of things. So there'll be an element of that model in what I do here.
Nice.
But yeah, we're about to go live, so I have no idea how many people are going to come in. If everyone that told me they're going to come in comes in, I think I'll do well. But we all know that intent shown pre-purchasing doesn't necessarily translate into clients. So we'll see. But I'm okay either way.
What's your main outcomes that people come in? Like,
Yep.
What's the main thing that you'd like them to be able to walk away with, by joining this?
Yeah, good question. So I always start with beliefs and behaviors. So, getting them to think different. So, a lot of every sales trainer says my way is different, my way is special, I don't do the traditional way. But, well, my way is different, my way is special, I don't do the traditional way. I reject a lot, and for others to decide, of course, but that's the feedback I've gotten in the 15 or so testimonials that I'll be sharing shortly. But look, I don't sell what I consider the traditional way. I have in the past, so I recognize this way of selling. And I know, for those that still sell this way and want to sell this way, I'm not going to tell you you're doing it wrong. If it's working for you and you're happy, keep doing it. But I personally, had a deep dissatisfaction with selling the traditional way, 3 or 4 years ago. And that's what caused me to go on a journey to learn and discover and create, new methods. So when I say the traditional way,
what's the traditional way?
Yeah. When I say the traditional way, it's if there's a set call or a triage call, depending on what you call it, it's all softball questions. It's all let's get them onto the close call. Let's not ask any questions that could upset them or potentially have it become clear that they can't become our next client. Let's get them on the close call. We're not going to talk money. We're not going to talk purchasing decisions. We're not going to talk all the things that could potentially get a no on this call. We're going to softball it all the way through, get them all excited, and then the closer is going to bring it home. So I reject that as a start point. I reject that completely. If we all know that there's a significant percentage of people on any call that can't, no matter who you are, can't and won't say yes to your offer no matter what. And that's just the way it is. That's the game we're in. Like, you can't sell to everybody, and you shouldn't sell to everybody.
That's the number.
If you're selling to everybody, you should put your prices up as a start point. So if you accept that as a start point, then the next question becomes, well, if you're good at what you do and you're prepared to ask the right questions that need asking, why can't you identify 70, 80% of those people in the first 10 minutes? And the answer is you can. You can. You absolutely can. And you should. Because by identifying 70, 80% of those people in the first 10 minutes, which for me is on a set call, and if not, if it's a one-call close, I'll do it in the first 10 minutes of the close call, I'll have 70 to 80% of people that were never going to buy no matter what, couldn't buy no matter what. I'll have that identified in the first 5 to 10 minutes. And I'll stress test their answers, don't get me wrong. Just because I give resistance doesn't mean I just roll over and, it's all over now. They said they didn't want to invest 5K, so it's all over. I've got a process on how I handle that. But if we're still at the same point 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes later, then I disqualify them. The conversation's over. We part the call as friends with dignity, but I free up that energy for those that qualify to actually potentially be sold to. I teach people how to do that as a start point, and that comes back to beliefs and behaviors. I mean, the first thing I teach my guys is, we're not here to sell to them. That's literally the first thing I teach them. I'm not here to sell to you. My number one objective is to find out the truth. And once the truth emerges, we can then assess next steps. Does it look and feel like you could become somebody that could become our next client? Yes or no? What questions are needed to be answered in order for that to become clearer? And off we go on a journey. So that alone as a start point probably changes me from most salespeople who think their number one objective on the call is to sell to this person. I reject that. Selling is an outcome. So I'm more interested in finding out the truth. I mean, who is Pat? What's going on? Where's he at? Where does he want to go? Who is he? Who does he want to become? What's stopping him from becoming that person? What's he actually prepared to do to become that person? What's he not prepared to do to become that person? What are the timelines in play? What does a decision look like from his point of view? What are his alternatives? What has he explored so far? What needs to happen in order for him to say yes to this? What would be a red flag that would make him say no right away? I mean, I want to know these things, and I want to know them early. And once I get the truth on all of those things, then I'll reassess. Where are we at? Does this person look and sound and feel based on the answers they've given, based on me using my experience and joining the dots and reading the room? Does this person look and feel and sound like somebody that could become our next client? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, we keep advancing the call. And if the answer is no, then we pick apart what's making me think no. We have that conversation, and it might be about money. It might be about decision making. It might be about timing. It might be about authority to take a decision. It might be about their buying process. We have that conversation. We have it honestly. And if we can't get over it, the call's over. So I teach people how to do all that.
There you go. There's your ad right there. There's your masterclass.
The end outcome is you're going to think different. You're going to believe different. And because of that, you're going to act different. And because of that, you are going to get wildly different outcomes. You're going to spend way less time and way less energy dealing with the wrong people that were never going to buy from you, and we're going to leave you frustrated, and we're going to be a 15 to 30-minute objection battle at the end of the call, still to think about it, or still to need to think to the wife, or all those sorts of things. That doesn't exist in my world. That does not exist at all. So I teach you how to avoid all that. And you're going to make more sales based on my experience. They're going to be better quality sales, and you're both going to feel a hell of a lot better about it at the end of the call.
That's awesome.
So
that's cool.
That's the overall.
That's the long and short of it.
Way that I view selling and how I teach the people that I sell. So I'm going to teach everything I know. So if you like the way if you like the way I think, if you like the way I believe, if you like the way I do, I'm going to teach everything I know, and then I'm going to coach you and support you to do your version of it.
Nice. And when are you looking to do this? Like it'll be sometime this week.
I'm going to make the announcement this week. I'm going to do a pre-sale, but I won't. I'll do a soft launch, like more or less right away. We're going to we have a school group that I've built, so that's where the community is going to be on the school platform. It's where the live recordings and the catalogued, short versions of the recordings will be catalogued in there as well. It's completely self-contained, so no need to have a Slack or a Discord attached or anything like that. So it's going to be in there. So I'll do a soft launch and open that up for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then mid-July I'll actually be in Australia. I'm about to travel to Australia with a family again. Then we'll officially go live, and the memberships will officially start, and then things get serious.
Nice.
The soft launch is going to allow people to come in without the clock ticking, so to speak. Start conversations with them, start getting them familiar with what we're doing, start having some calls where we can talk about where we're going and what I'm seeing, and they can share their views, and we can modify the plan if that's what needs to happen. And then we'll do the proper launch mid-July.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I wish you luck with all of that. I think it'll do well for sure. I know it will do well. There's a lot of experience in that.
Certainly hope so.
Well, I look forward to following that journey. And Nate, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for spending it. There's a lot of good stuff. I think that's very useful, very valuable for people. In the closing space that's listening to this for sure.
Thank you, Pat.
And
I'll just extend an invitation to you as well. I'm going to have guest hosts doing deep dives in the group as well. So I'd like to invite you in due course, because obviously you've got a lot of expertise in, connecting deal owners, offer owners, recruiters to closers and setters. You've got a lot of experience in that space. So I'd love you to come on at some stage and share your wisdom and help those in the group, get a better read on the best pathway to success in this game.
For sure, mate. Happy to do that.